Hi, I'm Caroline and I'm from Good Doggy. So over the weekend, strange weekend, a couple of my clients had said they'd been approached by members of the public to tell them that they were using their clickers wrong. And I had a third client who had also had a previous trainer who had told them that clickers are complete nonsense. So I thought maybe I would make a little video just to talk a bit about clicker training and maybe dispel a few myths about what it is and what it's for. So most people will think a clicker is for just basic training. You have a little plastic box, you press the click, and the dog associates that with receiving a treat. So it becomes a predictor of a treat. This is a really common way to use a clicker. This is the most obvious way to use a clicker. And if you read the instructions, this is probably the route that you're heading. So what happens here is that you ask your dog to do whatever you want them to do. Say, for example, a sit. As soon as their bum touches the floor, you press the click, then you reward them with the treat. So the dog's really happy with this. On a conscious level, the treat was predicted by the clicker. So the clicker has marked the behaviour that you want. It's really precise, much more precise than if we were to try and use words and say good boy by the time we've got the treat out, blah, blah, blah. So the clicker does a really good job here. But there's more to it than just that. So here are a few misconceptions about clickers that I would love to clear up. So the first one is that click does not always mean treat. Clickers were first used years and years ago in zoos, commonly used to help with different kinds of animals, training, but specifically it worked really well for the likes of dolphins, whales and things like that. And the reason why it worked for them is because the trainer was able to stand back as the dolphin or the sea lion or whatever did what they needed them to do. They pressed the clicker and then that let the animal know that they were doing the right thing. So if you had to use a treat straight away, this wouldn't work very well because your trainer would have to be standing in the middle of a swimming pool. And as soon as the dolphin jumped through the hoop or bounced the ball in the air or whatever, then you would have to stop and give them a treat. So clickers can work really, really well because they actually don't stop the behavior that you want. You can continue the behavior on and add more clicks. So you don't have to stop every single thing for a click. So an example of this with your dog might be heel work, for example. If you're trying to teach your dog to walk on a loose lead, then you might start moving forward. And if the lead is loose, you would press your clicker. And if it was tight, you may stop. As soon as it goes loose again, you press your click and then you start moving again. And if the dog continues to be beside you, you just keep on clicking. So you can just do quite a long section of walking where your dog stays on a nice loose lead and you're just going click, click, click as you walk along, so that your dog's knowing that every single space, every single step that they've done there with a loose lead will earn them a treat. Now, if you were to stop and give your dog a reward for every one of those clicks, you'd be stopping them from walking to heel, which was the exact opposite of the goal. The goal is to keep going and to teach them that they don't just do one step at heel, they do, the whole walk. They continue to walk beside you on that loose lead. So you just keep on clicking and every now and then you can stop and you can pay out on some of the clicks that your dog has earned. So that's a really important thing, that not every single click needs to have an immediate treat. Secondly, your clicker is not a remote control. Some people think that when you click your clicker, your dog is supposed to come to you immediately to get their treat. And you can see how actually that would spoil the training that we were talking about just now, when you want your dog to continue doing the same thing more and more and more and not break the cycle of what they're doing. So we don't want them to think of it as a recall command. We don't want your dog to hear the clicker and come running to you to get their treat. We need the clicker to be a reward for good things that they're doing. So they have to start to come to you first, and as they run to you, then you start using the clicker. It's really, really common for people to think the clicker is actually meant to change their dog's behavior. It's meant to get them to come to them, or it's meant them to stop barking or stop lunging or stop something. It doesn't stop anything. It's just a reward. When you teach your dog to associate the click and the treat, the brain starts to think of the click, it starts to hear the click, and it stimulates the reward center of the brain. So whatever your dog's doing when you're pressing the click, they're going to keep doing that. They're going to want to do that more and more because it makes them feel really good. So that's another misconception about clickers. It's not a remote control. You shouldn't be using it to get your dog to come to you or to stop doing something. That's the wrong way to use it. If you do use it that way, that'll be all you can do with it, because you can't use it as a reward for anything else after that. Your dog will only think recall when they hear that click. It's such a small, quiet little noise. It's really no good as a recall tool, because it's just so quiet. Your voice is far better, far more powerful, far more useful in a recall. So as well as trick training, you can also use your click for behavior training. And this is probably the lesser known use of clicker training. So I already just mentioned that the click can stimulate the reward center of the brain. And the reason why it does this is because when you introduce the clicker to your dog, the treat itself already stimulates the reward center. As soon as your dog gets the treat, the reward center gets excited, it makes them feel good, and that's why it feels rewarding to get food. So when you do clicking and treating at the same time, and you do that often enough, the brain gets really confused between the treat that's stimulating the reward center of the brain and the click. And then what happens is once that confusion has happened, then the click can stimulate the reward center of the brain. So you don't need the treat straight away, which is why it works really well for keeping things going. But in this example, it works really good for helping a dog feel better about things they're doing. So if you're trying to work on a behavior problem, perhaps your dog's quite anxious, creating lots of space, and then using your clicker to help build confidence in something that they're already not confident in, this is a really, really good use of the clicker. And in particular, the client that was told they were using it wrong was actually using it for this particular purpose. And it's a real shame actually for that poor client, because their dog just a few months ago was so overwhelmed and anxious by being outside the house that his walks could only really be about 10 or 15 minutes. He was really very, very overwhelmed by everything. Any slight movements, any people around, dogs, cars, all that kind of stuff really just overwhelmed him. And using the clicker to support his training, he was now at the weekend able to go for a walk in a park, in a strange park, strange people, strange dogs, and he was walking in a group of people and dogs. So it's really, really been an amazing tool for him, and it's really helped him build his confidence in situations he wasn't confident in, and look where he's come in just a few months' time. The same with another client was using it to help build their dog's confidence around other dogs at the time. And unfortunately, both of these people, were challenged over their use of the clicker, which is just a real shame, because it had really, really helped them so much. So we can use it to build confidence. We can use it to keep a behavior going. So that reward center is constantly being triggered every time the dog hears the click. And the great thing about that when you're using it in behavior work is because you're not giving them a treat every single time. Often anxious dogs don't want to take treats. So once you've done a little bit of work with them, you can take them somewhere quiet, somewhere they feel a bit more confident and a bit more safe, and then you can give them all the treats that they've earned for all the clicks. So that's another really great benefit of using the clicker, but a really, really often misunderstood use of the clicker. So hopefully that's cleared up a few kind of little misconceptions about clicker use. I've got loads of videos on clicker training for reactive dogs, why you might think your clicker's not working, and what to do about that, and other things as well, good reasons to use a clicker and stuff. So please check out those videos if you're interested more about clicker training and you want to learn more about it. If you think that your dog's not responding to the clicker, then check out those videos, because it explains a bit more about the sort of subliminal effects of a clicker versus the conscious effects of the clicker, which we just kind of touched on today. But there's more about that in my other videos. So brilliant. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another time. Take care for now. Bye bye.